What's up, YouTubers? So before we get started with this video, on first take, they're going to be talking about how the LA Lakers absolutely got beat up by the Phoenix Suns last night in Game 5. So let's see what they have to say about that.
Who's most accountable for the Lakers' blowout loss?
The whole team.
Well, I'm going to put most of the onus on LeBron James and Coach Frank Vogel. I mean, listen, it's a Game 6. It's not a Game 7. It's not the end. You know, you don't write the epitaph of LeBron James because of this, because there is a Game 6, rather, because this was Game 5. There is a Game 6, potentially a Game 7. So it's not over. But you knew what was stacked against you, particularly with Anthony Davis out. And here you are, you show up, and I know that you made passes and guys weren't shooting open shots. I get all of that. Other times they were missing, and I'll let Max get into all of that because there were a few people on the Los Angeles Lakers that were pathetic. They were soft. They were weak. They came across as a team that conceded the game pretty much minutes into it. But LeBron's the leader. And guess what? He didn't look much better. So I'm going to put that on.
Yeah, he didn't look much better at all, especially when he left the game. He left his teammates hanging with 5 minutes left in the game. I mean, Kobe Bryant would never do anything like that. That's absolutely despicable and embarrassing that LeBron James will leave his teammates hanging while they're still out there on the court trying to fight and trying to play for some pride. But LeBron James leaves. That's no excuse for that.
On him, because it's not just about you scoring your points or whatever. It's you galvanizing the troops and leading in the way that you're supposed to. He didn't do that last night. But the big onus, a bigger onus to me, falls on Coach Frank Vogel. See, it's moments like this where you get reminded that Frank Vogel wasn't their first choice. He really wasn't their second choice. It's just that because of somewhat of a checkered past against Jason Kidd, he couldn't be the guy that was hired to be the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah, it's too late for all that. Frank Vogel already won a championship last year, even if he had some of the top players. It's too late to be talking about who they really wanted to be the head coach. It's too late. He's already there. He's already established. You guys weren't saying that earlier in the season when they were winning and taking care of business. So it's too late to be talking about all that.
To tell you as a point of fact that Jeannie Buss wanted Jason Kidd to be the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, which is why everybody was contemplating, how long is Frank Vogel going to be there? But props to Frank Vogel, who came in and won the chip last year and had them ready to play in the bubble. But last night, Mr. Vogel, Coach Vogel, where the hell was your defense? I mean, we saw guys running layup lines. We saw guys shooting uncontested, wide open three-point shots. We saw them pushing the ball up the floor and guys not getting back. We saw you put forth a starting five last night that hadn't started together all season long, if I remember correctly. And by the way, where the hell is Montrezl Harrell? Where the hell is he? Okay? Because it's just inexcusable that you haven't found a way to use this dude who's the sixth man of the year. You brought him there. I understand that Andre Drummond is a bigger body. He can play. He was serviceable with his 13 rebounds, 4 offensive. But Montrezl Harrell is an Energizer Bunny. He's a dog, and I mean that in a positive way. He's a dog.
True.
Where the hell is he? You got to put him out there. You know Anthony Davis is not reliable. Now, I'm not going to disrespect Anthony Davis because if you injured, you injured. And he's got multiple injuries to the same leg, Max, and I get that. But damn, you got Charles Barkley on the air. I mean, if ever there was a time Charles Barkley was hilarious and made you fall out of your chair, it was last night when he called Anthony Davis street clothes.
Yeah, pull up we have his injury history for this season, if we can pull that up.
That was just hilarious, okay? And I ain't knocking. I don't like to chide Anthony Davis because you injured, and I respect that. But the bottom line is he's an injury-prone player. You know this, Frank Vogel. How in the hell do you not prepare the Los Angeles Lakers, particularly your front line, to be able to play without Anthony Davis, at least defensively, at least when it comes to rebounding, at least when it comes to having some kind of interior presence? That's on Frank Vogel.
Yeah, and Frank Vogel's a defensive coach, too.
That's on Frank Vogel. So I'm just looking at it, Max, and I'll hand it off to you by saying this. LeBron James, listen, it's on the line. I don't want to hear no damn GOAT conversation. It was never an issue with me. I don't want to hear. You better show up in Game 6 and be not just the great player we know you to be. somebody who's worthy of being on a Mount Rushmore, you better galvanize these troops and get these boys ready because your teammates look soft. They look weak. Last night, they just got straight pumped. You down by 30 in the first half.
Let's get Max in here.
That's what happened.
Yeah, so this is one of the worst performances I've ever seen by the Lakers, led by LeBron James. So let's take a quick look at who did what or lack thereof. So LeBron James finished up with 24, 5, and 7. He went 9 for 19, 6 for 10 for the 3-point. That sounds like he may have had an average game, but he had 7 points at the half. 7 points at the half. I mean, what kind of trash is that in a game 5 that you know you need to win, and you're the only person of your cloth playing at that point in time, Anthony Davis being out. And Schröder didn't do any better. Actually, he did worse. He went 0-4-1. He went 0-9, 0-4 for the 3-point. I mean, absolutely, this guy wants a $100 million contract, but you can't put up any type of points in game 5 in the playoffs? Get out of here with that trash. Caldwell-Pope, he didn't do any better. He went 0-1-2. He went 0-1. Didn't even attempt to shoot a 3-point shot. The only person that really took care of business, it was Kyle Kuzma coming off the bench. He went 15-1-0. He went 6 for 13, 1 for 5 for the 3-point. I mean, this is absolutely one of the worst performances I've ever seen for the Lakers. And LeBron James, with the icing on the cake, with 5 minutes left, this guy decides to go and leave his team hanging there while those guys are still sitting there fighting and guaranteed they're sitting there embarrassed. LeBron James decides to separate himself from the team and leave. What kind of trash is that? Kobe Bryant would never leave his team like that. As a matter of fact, Kobe Bryant would still be in the game fighting to keep on to see if maybe he can win. It doesn't matter if he's down by 30 points. And this LeBron James is the guy that calls himself the GOAT. Get out of here, man. That's not GOAT-like behavior. That's absolute trash. And I got to send a little shout out to Devin Booker because Devin Booker had I think 20 points at the half or 18 points at the half. He was absolutely killing it. He went 37 and 5. He went 13 for 23. And he went 2 for 6 from the 3-point. So Devin Booker absolutely took care of business. Chris Paul, I'd say he had a bad game too because he finished up 9, 4, and 6, 3 for 9, 1 for 3 from the 3-point. Yeah, he had a very quiet game. But as far as the Lakers, I expect a lot more in Game 6. I don't think they're going to go out like this, especially LeBron James. I think LeBron James is going to come back and have a stellar Game 6, and the Lakers definitely come back and take care of business. I mean, they can only go up from here, especially Schröder and Caldwell-Pope. They can only go up from here. So I expect the Lakers to win in Game 6 and get this thing over to Game 7 because that was an absolute one of the worst performances I've ever seen by the Lakers. So
the person most responsible for the loss, and it took a lot of people to have a loss like that. Like, you could say whatever you want. I don't know what happened in the second half of that game. Anyone watching the second half of that game? Everyone was watching Denver and Portland. 20 down, 27 down, 30 points at the half. Get out of here. The person most responsible for the loss is Dennis Schröder. That's the person most responsible. And I don't want to hear, Stephen A., the particulars about what role needs to be filled now that AD's not playing. It's much simpler than that. Your best player is LeBron. He was able to play. Your second best player is AD. He couldn't go. Your third best player is Dennis Schröder. Dennis Schröder turned down $84 million because he wants $100 million. He's the third best player on the team. He has to step up and be the second best player. The big question was, okay, Schröder's better than Rondo in the regular season. We're not in the regular season now. We're in the playoffs, and there's playoff Rondo. What's playoff Schröder look like? There's no such thing as playoff Schröder.
Looked like absolute trash last night. Absolute, less than trash. He looked like nothing. He looked like absolute nothing.
Apparently. Stephen A., here are the numbers from Schröder last night. 0 for 9 shooting. 0 for 4 from 3. He had 1 assist and no points. When you needed this dude to step up, he had 0 points. Not in the first quarter, in the game. 0 points. The first Laker to go scoreless in a playoff game while shooting 9+ shots since the franchise moved to LA. So you can talk to me about Montrezl Harrell and Andre Drummond and how coach should have used them and LeBron not stepping up enough and everything else. Your wannabe $100 million point guard needed to step up, and he gave you 0 points. He did something that no one has ever done with the Los Angeles Lakers. If you're looking for one guy to blame, Schröder deserves it most.
Yeah, but at least Schröder was sitting there and he ate his punishment. He ate his embarrassment sitting there the whole time throughout the whole game. He didn't just walk away with 5 minutes left like LeBron James did. The whole team sat there. Even Caldwell-Pope sat there when he put up a goose egg. He sat there with the embarrassment of what was going on. And he sat there through the whole time and sat there watching his guys try to fight and claw back even though there was no hope for it. Everybody sat there except for LeBron James. He decided to walk away with 5 minutes left and leave his team hanging. I can't say that enough. That is so bad. Like I said, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, they would never do that. And LeBron James calls himself the GOAT. That is not GOAT-like behavior. I mean, that is so embarrassing. And LeBron James is known to leave his team when things don't look good and go and take a shower and get dressed up and just go home. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Please, no disrespect, Max. You're not wrong. I'm not trying to imply that you're wrong with what you're saying about Schröder himself and his pathetic, weak, impotent performance. You're absolutely right. But it's an absolute joke if you acting like he the cause of what the hell happened last night. You could have a bad game like that from Schröder and still be a bit more respectable. Understand that we're not here talking about how the Lakers lost a game. If we just talked about how they lost Game 5, we dissect how they lost Game 5. All right, you roll back to the Staples Center for Game 6. This conversation is about a beatdown that took place in Phoenix.
True.